So I'm going to do this assignment with you, the postcard. It has some tricky things to it, and we're going to try to go through it step by step and help you get through it. And I do think that hopefully when you're finished, you will have learned some new things. There are certainly some aspects of Illustrator that can be a little bit tricky, and so we're going to learn some of the things that will make really designing anything you want to design possible. After we complete this assignment, we're going to start moving on to some very creative things, and it'll be up to you to use everything you've learned up to this point to create the most unique things that you can create. And our first thing will be designing logos. And you have learned so much so far in terms of shapes and just the ways you can take shapes to create almost anything. But there are still a few things left to learn, and that's what this assignment is going to do for us. So we're going to start by clicking Create New, and once you get your new document screen, you're going to select Print. You're going to title your work. I'm going to title this Mrs. C Postcard, and I'm going to call it Video so that I know which one this is, as I've done several for different classes. So this is called Postcard Video version 1. You can name yours anything you want, just do make sure your name is included and call it Postcard. I've changed the measurement to inches, and because this is a postcard, it's currently set on letter. Postcards are generally not 8.5 by 11. Postcards should be, or at least this postcard should be, 6 inches by 4.25 inches. So the width on this is 6, so I'll just change that. The height on this is 4.25, 4.25, and it is a landscape postcard. The thing we're going to do that is different than you've done before is we're going to create 2 artboards. And the reason we have 2 artboards is because a postcard has 2 sides. If this was a brochure or a magazine or something that had multiple pages to it, we would include enough artboards for each side or each piece of our document. But we're going to go with 2 this time. So now that I have all of these things in place, I'm ready to move on. I could easily change the bleed right now, and to be perfectly honest with you, this is how I would do it. I would simply add this bleed right now because it is right here for me. But because I'm teaching you from the book, Adobe Illustrator CC 2019, the book wants you to be aware of other ways to take care of the bleed. So yes, you can add a bleed to this. If I click on that right now, you can see that I have just added a 0.125 inch bleed to all 4 sides of the postcard. But since there's always another way to do things, I'm going to set it back to 0 and simply click Create. You see I've got my 2 artboards now. Here's how you're going to add the bleed. You're going to go over to Quick Actions. You're going to go to Document Setup, and once again you see a menu that allows you to add a bleed. So I will do it here. Now right now, because this is checked, make all settings the same, the minute I do that, they all flip to 0.125 inch increments. If I didn't have this clicked and I were to say change something, it would only change the one. So make sure that is clicked. It probably will be when you get started, but just double check because all 4 of these should flip for you. All right, we're ready to get started. I'm going to click OK. The red line that you see represents your bleed, so that's how you know that the bleed is in place. All right, we are going to be working with one side of this postcard. If you go down to this status bar down here, you'll notice the number 1. The menu next to it shows you that you have a total of 2 artboards, 1 and 2. This would be 1, this would be 2. We will be working on number 2. So I clicked on number 2, and now you can see that artboard 2 takes up my entire screen. I'm ready to get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is deal with shapes, okay? And we've worked with shapes. You've used shapes in a multitude of ways. Some of the assignments we've done so far were designed specifically to give you lots of practice working with shapes. But some of the things we're going to do today are things that you haven't done before. So you will soon find out that there are even more ways to manipulate your shapes. And so the more you learn about manipulating shapes, the more you will realize there's just almost nothing you can't do when you're working with Illustrator. So step 1 is going to be creating a rectangle. So if I look over at my menu, my rectangle is right here. Before I go any further, I'm just going to very quickly go to Window, go to Workspace, go to Reset Essentials, just make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. I'll bring back the double column tools, and I'm ready to go. So I'm going to need a rectangle. Before I begin, I need to know the size of this rectangle. This rectangle is going to be 1/2 inch wide by 2 inches tall. So I'm going to start it right here in the middle somewhere. It doesn't matter exactly where I start it, but somewhere in the middle I'm going to get started. So I'll push my mouse key and I'll start dragging down and to the right. And you see the little menu that is opened up, and it tells me that my width is currently 0.3 inches. And of course I want it to be 0.5 inches, so I'll bring it out a little bit. There, we're close to 0.5. I also know that it needs to be 2 inches tall, so I'll drag down until I reach the 2. Slide in a little bit. There I have a perfect 5-2. If I let go, that should be a perfect 5-2. Now what I have noticed is that there is no such thing as perfect. Although the menu here said 5, when I say 5, I mean 1/2 inch, 0.5 and 2 inches. When I look over here in my property menu, I see that it's not really exact, okay? It's actually 0.5025. So if I really want to be meticulous here, I can just change that to 0.5. And I want to change this to 2. Whoop. Okay, so this needs to be off, okay, because we don't want to maintain that. Okay, so now that that was off, I have an exact 0.5 inch by an exact 2 inch. Okay, so that just helps you get things absolutely exact. That menu is supposed to give you an exact measurement, but I've noticed that sometimes it doesn't, so I will sometimes correct it. All right, so so now we have that. The next thing we want to do is make a change to the size on this using a technique that allows you to constrain the sides as you change the measurement. So right now it's 1/2 inch by 2 inch. What I want to do is I want to change it. I'm gonna click on this, and to change it I go to the middle bounding box here. I need to hold down my Alt key. Okay, you're using a PC, so you're going to hold down your Alt key. I'm using a Mac. I'm going to hold down my Option key. As I do this, whoops. And where did, Okay, looks like I'll be starting again. My Illustrator crashed. All right. Okay. It crashed there for a minute, but it looks like it's opened up again, so I don't need to restart. I will continue. Computers can be fun. I'm going to go ahead and save real quick, just so that if this happens again, I don't have any issues. And I got rid of the word recovered. All right, so I'm back where I was. All right, if you click on this, you notice the little blue dot there. That's so that you can move this around. I've got the selection tool marked here. This little blue dot allows me to take this anywhere I want to take it. Okay, but what I do want to do right now is I want to change the size of this. I'm changing it to, let me see, because it does kind of change things up a little bit. Right now it's set at 0.5. We want it to go to 0.3. Okay, so why are we doing this? We're doing this for no other reason than to teach you how to make something smaller and constrain the edges. That's really the only reason we're doing this. If we knew we wanted it to be 0.3 in the first place, we would have really just made it 0.3 in the first place. But this is all, just consider this a learning, a learning opportunity here. So again, you are going to hold down your Control key, or excuse me, your Alt key, and you're going to hold down your mouse. And when you do that, and then you drag in, you're going to notice that both sides come in. So if you had this centered and you wanted it to stay centered, this would allow you to change the measurement without only letting it happen on one side. Okay, now I have some issues with my computer, and what happens is when I let go, my measurements don't stick. You're supposed to let go of your mouse first and then let go of the Alt key. If you do it in the opposite direction, you won't, the measurements won't stick. Mine, there's something going on with my computer where it's sticking all the time. So I can see that this isn't 0.3, and that's what it was supposed to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and change it to 0.3. And now it's 0.3. And that, to be perfectly honest with you, is the easiest way to get the size that you want. But it is good to know that you can use this little technique if you want to change the size of something. Okay, you can see how the blue line goes in, the blue line goes out. All right, but I've got it exactly where I want it, which is 0.3. The next thing we want to do is we want to rotate this a little bit. And we want to rotate it at a 45-degree angle. So again, I will select it. I will look for my little curved arrows there that tell me that I am now set to rotate this. Now, if I just start rotating, it'll rotate in a very random manner. And since I want it to rotate to an exact 45 degrees, I'm going to have to hold down the Shift key as I make the rotation. So if I hold down my Shift key, my mouse, and I start turning, it stays at 0 until it hits 45 degrees. 315 degrees is a 45-degree change. Now here's where my issue is going to be. Hopefully this won't happen for you. I'm going to let go of my mouse. Technically, when I let go of the Shift key, it should stay where it was, but it didn't. So I'm going to have to just move it to 315 without holding the Shift key and check it up here. You can see your angle right in the properties menu, 315. That's exactly what I need it to be. So I'm teaching you something that is not working for me, and I apologize for that, but I can't unfortunately control the computer. So just know that as you're doing this, and because you're using a PC, you will, knock on wood, not have the same issue, and it will actually stick to the 45 degrees for you. All right, so what are we going to do next? The next thing we want to do is we want to curve some corners here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so I can get an up-close view. And really what I want to do is I want to curve two of my edges. I want to curve the bottom edge here and the top edge here. Okay, I don't want this to be rectangular, and I want the curves to only be in certain places. So I'm going to switch to my direct selection tool. I'm going to double click here, and I get this great little menu that opens up, and I can change the radius of that curve to whatever I want it to be. And I believe we're going with a 0.2 radius. So let's just see what happens. That's, nah. We're going to go with the 0.125. Let me just see what the book is asking us. Nah, the book is actually asking us for a 0.125. So we'll leave it at the 0.125. Okay, so there's my 0.125 inch radius curve. Interestingly, just to show you what your options are, there's also an inverted round and there's a chamfer. Okay, chamfer looks like, whoops, that. Okay. And inverted round looks like that. We're just going with curved though. So I'll stick with the curved and I'll click OK. Now I need to do the same thing over here. Double click on the widget. Okay. Bring it to the 0.125 inch. Click OK and click away from it. And now I've curved this edge and I've curved this edge. All right. So I've got this little piece the way I want it to be. The next thing I want to do is I want to change the color. So I'm going to go over to fill. Of course, you have two options. You have your color mixer menu and you have your swatch menu. We're going to go with a swatch menu and I'm going to choose a very deep red. And why didn't it change? It didn't change because I forgot to go back to my selection tool and select the object. The object has to be selected in order for anything to happen. So now when I go here and click red, my object is red. I don't want a stroke on it, so I will go here and where the little white box is with the red line, I've just removed my black stroke. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to make a copy of this. So I'm going to again click on it, making sure the selection tool is selected and not the direct selection tool. When I click on it, I will go to edit, I will go to copy, I will go to edit again, and I will go to paste in front. So now there is a duplicate of this sitting right on top of it. So now what I need to do is I need to rotate this to a 45-degree angle in the opposite direction. So once again, if we hold our Shift key and we hold our mouse ideally, I can start turning and, whoops, it's not. Okay, maybe I didn't have it clicked. Okay, I see the number moving now. There we go. That's what it would look like vertically, but of course we want it to crisscross. So I'm going to keep coming over in this direction. I see the number 45 degrees now, so I know this is where it needs to be, but I also know that when I let go, it's not going to stay because of whatever computer issues I have going on here. I'm going to try. I just let go of the mouse, and now I let go of my shift key, and sure enough, it switched. Oops. Let's try this again. Okay, so it did not stick to the 45 degrees for me. So now I'm going to do it without the shift key, and I'm just going to keep turning until I reach 45 degrees. There's 45. Check yourself, look over in your properties menu. Does it say 45 where your angle is? It does, so this is now correct. The only other thing I'm going to do is change the color of this. So instead of it being a bold red, it is going to be a lighter red. Okay, so we are now done with this particular piece to this whole big puzzle that we're creating. I need these two pieces to join. They need to become one. Now, because this is the only thing on my artboard at the moment, I could go to select, I could go to all on active artboard, and I could then go down to my quick actions and click group. However, this only works if it's the only thing on your board, which at this moment this is. If I had other things on my board right now, that is not the format I would use. I'm going to back up here. I would do it in a much simpler way. I would simply bring my selection tool, up here to the left somewhere. I would click my mouse. I'd basically draw a box around these objects. Now both of these objects have been sort of combined, and all I have to do is click group. Okay? You notice the minute you click group, it switches to ungroup. So you can group and ungroup as much as you want. If I zoom out of this now, you can see that I can move this little X wherever I want it to be. Okay? And let me just double check a second here. I think somehow I may have changed the color on this one. It does not appear to be the lighter red. So let me change that again. Maybe I accidentally did something to change that color. So again, I grab those two pieces, I group, I zoom out. Okay, and they're two different colors, dark red, light red. All right, so that's what your first piece looks like. Now we're going to work on a piece that will be part of our boat. This piece is also going to start with a rectangle. So I'll go to my rectangle tool. The size on this, we're going to begin with 0.2 inches by 1.5 inches. Okay, so 0.2 inches by 1.5. So let's just say I started up here somewhere. You can do it wherever you want. You have all this free space. We'll move things around later when we're ready. So I click my mouse. As I begin dragging, my little menu opens. I start to see numbers. 0.2, there's 0.2 right there. I said it needed to be 1.5 in terms of height. So 1.5 is about there, 2 is there. This is not exact, okay? But if I let go right now and I want it to be exact, I'm going to go over to my properties menu, and this is where I will make sure it's exact. So I'll go in, I'll change that to 0.2. I'll go down here. I'll change that to 1.5. And now this is the size. This is the size, whoops, that I need it to be. There we go, 0.2 by 1.5. Okay, there we go. All right, so now again, I'm going to do something to this that you're going to think makes no sense. I'm going to change the width of this to 0.1. And the whole purpose is to, one more time, give you a chance to work with constraining the width of it. Again, it's not useful to me as it doesn't hold for me. But it may be holding for you, and if it is, it's a great tool to use. So again, if I want this to actually be 0.1, then what I will do is I will hold my Shift key, I will hold my mouse, I will bring this in, whoops, I'm sorry, not my Shift key, my Alt key, or for me, my Option key, and I will bring this in, and now you can see that it's coming in. When I get to 1.1, I'm going to let go of my mouse, let go of you'll let go of your Alt key, I let go of my Option key, and sure enough, mine snapped back. So since I need it to be 1 point, I'm going to just do that. Now, like I said, I look over here and I realize that's not exactly 1 point. It's slightly off, so I'll go ahead and change it if it matters. You know, when you're designing, exact measurements may not matter to you. It's the way something looks. It's what you're trying to achieve. So if the exact measurement matters to you, then fix it. If the exact measurement doesn't matter to you, then don't worry about it. All right, so we're going to zoom in here because once again, we're going to make some changes to the corners. So there's my widgets. Okay, there's my little 2 widgets. I'm going to hit my direct selection tool, and I'm going to double click on the right one. This time I'm going for a chamfer, excuse me, and we'll do that. Let's see. We want it to be 0.02. So I'm going to have to put that in myself and hit OK. That gives me a 0.2 chamfer edge to the top right side. Okay, again, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to double click on the widget. Again, I'll go to chamfer. I can try the arrow, but it wants to keep giving me 0.05. I want 0.02, so I'm going to have to change it. There's my 0.02. So now I have this long pole, which will end up being part of my boat. And I've got the top looking the way I want the top to look. The only thing I want to do at this point is change the color of this to a brown. So I will go back to my selection tool. I will select it. I will go to my fill. I will pick a brown, and that should do it. And if you double click on the white somewhere, you should see you should be able to deselect. You can always go to select, and then deselect is right there. If this were selected right now, I could go to select, deselect, but it's usually easier just to double click somewhere on the artboard, and that will deselect for you as well. All right, so we've got 2 items done. All right, so moving on. Now we're going to make a boat. So I'm going to fit artboard and window. There we go. Now I can see my whole space. All right, we're going to make an ellipse. So I will go over to my shapes. Of course, the rectangle is what I've been using, but when I hold down my mouse, you can see that the ellipse is the second shape that I can choose from. My ellipse should be 1.5 inches by 1/2 inch tall. So 1.5 inches wide. I'm looking at my little menu there, getting close, 1.5. And in terms of height, I want it to be 0.5. So I'll bring it down a little further. There we go. All right, I let go. Did it give me an exact? It did not. I can see over here that is not exact. And so I'm going to change that. You got to make sure for this to work though that this has a line through it, because if this is open, if this link is connected, then that means that you are maintaining the proportions, and if you maintain the proportions, you won't be able to get an exact measurement for both height and width. Okay, so anyway, just double check that. What do we do next? The next thing we do is, you'll have to excuse me here because I'm kind of reading from the book right with you in terms of what you would be doing as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this piece. So I will click on it. I will go to Edit, Copy, Edit, and then I can just paste this anywhere. It does not have to be on top the way the other one was. The only reason I pasted the other one right on top was so that I could rotate at a 45-degree angle. This one is for a different purpose, so I just need it to be somewhere off to the side. All right, so what are we going to do next? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag the pie widget off the right side of the ellipse. So we're going to take this ellipse. This right here is your pie widget, okay? When you click on that and you start moving it, you create a pie. When you do that, now you have a second widget, all right? So, so what we're going to do at this point is, and I'm going to read some of this to you because honestly there's some very specific details here. After dragging the widget initially and releasing the mouse button, you will then see a second widget, which you do. The widget that now appears on the right side of the ellipse controls the end angle. So we're going to go to more options. These three little dots right here, that means more options. So we're going to click on that. When we click on that, in the transform section to show more options, we're going to choose 180 degrees from the pie start angle. So the pie start angle is this bottom one right here. That's the pie start angle. So if I click on that and I click 180, that basically eliminates the whole top half of my ellipse. And now my ellipse looks like a boat. All right, so now that we've done that, we can just click away and now we have a boat. Again, you know, to repeat that for you, we went to the ellipse. If I was to do this again for you, just to help you understand what we're doing, and this is not going to be the boat, I simply created a pie, okay? Created a pie. Once the pie was created, now it knows that we're creating a pie. I go to the more options, I go to the start angle, and I go to the 180 degrees. So I'm going to delete this one, as this is just an extra, but I wanted to kind of make clear to you what we just did. All right, so what are we going to do next? We're going to move the pointer over what was the center of the ellipse, okay, and drag the ellipse so it snaps to the bottom of the boat, okay? So now these two pieces are snapped together, all right? When you do this, you should actually see the word intersect. It's very hard to see. It's small. And it will be in pink. And so these two pieces should then be intersected. All right, so next, what do we do? All right, so now what we're going to do is with a selection tool, we're going to grab this ellipse, the second ellipse. We made a copy of this ellipse, and now we're going to drag it over. We've got the selection tool. We're clicking the copy of the brown ellipse. We're dragging it on top of the half ellipse. So we set it right there. So I'm going to set it right on top. And just kind of place it right there. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the fill color to a darker brown and the stroke color to a lighter brown. So I'm going to go to my fill here. I need a darker brown. Well, I used a pretty dark brown to begin with. So what I might do is I might just create my own dark brown so that it will be darker, okay? And then it asks me to create a stroke for this. So it asks to use a lighter brown for the stroke. So let's just say I use this brown for the stroke. All right, the next thing it's asking me to do is drag the top middle point of the ellipse down, and as I drag, I'm going to press the Alt key, okay? So as I drag, I'm pulling the Alt key, and or I'm holding the Alt key as I'm holding the mouse, and when I see a height of 1 inch, or 1 inch, 0.1 inches, and I haven't gotten there yet. Release the mouse button and then the key. And so, as I said, mine is sticking. Mine is not doing what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to go to 1, so I will change it to 1. So now you can see how it's created what would appear to be the center of this boat, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is click the word stroke in the properties click the word stroke in the properties panel, and it looks like there's already here we go. All right, so now we have a stroke around the entire boat, the boat and the inside of the boat. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring this to the front, and we can do that by simply going to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Now this is in front of this, and if this is too dark, I can always lighten it a smidge. Maybe I'll go with this brown instead. Okay, so I have different browns for this boat. All right, so pretty much that is how you create that boat. And so what I need to do is I need to select all of these things. I'm going to slide this over here for now. I've got my selection tool picked. I'm going to just grab that whole thing and I'm going to click group. So now this is a group and it's ready to go. All right, we're going to move on to circles. So I will go to the Ellipse Tool and I'm going to select the ellipse. I'm going to move the pointer over a blank area in the upper left corner of the artboard. And I'm going to begin dragging down to the right to begin drawing an ellipse. As I drag, I'm going to hold the Shift key, and as well as the mouse. And this gives me a perfect circle. You can see that pink cross in the center. That tells me that it is a perfect circle as opposed to an ellipse. I want this to be 1 inch, so I will keep dragging until I see 1 inch, and there it is. So I will let go, and sure enough, when I let go, I lose the perfect circle. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with my computer. So I'll drag this down so that this is now a perfect circle. It is perfect over here. It is 1.0034, 1.0034. So it is perfect. It's just not 1 inch as it's supposed to be. But since we're going to be changing this anyway, I'm not going to worry about whether it's a perfect inch or not. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is, without switching to the selection tool, you can reposition and modify an ellipse with the ellipse tool, which is what you'll do next. Move the pointer over the left middle bounding box. Whoops. And when we say pointer, we're talking about the selection tool. Over the left middle bounding point, press and drag toward the center to make it smaller. As you drag, press Shift Option or Shift Alt. So since I'm on a Mac, I've got Shift Option. You're on a PC, you're going to choose Shift Alt. And so you'll push those 2 keys in, and then as you drag, it's going to keep it centered for you, but it's going to bring it in evenly, okay? And it says to make it 0.3 inches. So, you know, a lot of this is about teaching you to, and of course mine is not holding, so I'm going to have to just make it 0.3. But a lot of this is about teaching you how to use these tricks when your computer is working properly. All right, so there is a 0.3 circle, which is really all we needed in the first place. But again, this is more of a lesson than us really needing to go through all these steps. With the circle selected, click the fill color in the properties panel and make sure that the swatch is open. We are going to change this to a light gray. So I'll click on it. I'll go to my fill. My grays are down here, okay? It says black 10. So usually gray is 000 and the number is in the black. So if I just hover over this, you can see there the black is 10. K means black. So I will choose that gray. That would be the gray that they're looking for this particular assignment. Now we're going to use the Polygon Tool. Okay, now they're going to take us through some hoops here. And I've already done this, so I know that they're taking us through some hoops here. So really what we're looking for is a triangle but they're going to, in trying to teach us various things, they're going to have us jump through some hoops. So I've just made a polygon, and the polygon has 6 sides. The polygon that I want only needs 3 sides. Okay, so in the book it's gonna have you doing a bunch of things that I really don't think you need to do. All you really need to know is that this is a triangle. Triangles have 3 sides. Okay, change your sides to 3. That'll get you started. Okay, click OK. So now you have a triangle. You can get rid of this polygon. You don't need it. You have a triangle. All right, 3-sided triangle. The next thing you want to do is you want to drag a corner of the bounding point of the triangle until you have a width of 1.2. So if I drag this till it's 1.2, there we go. That gives me the size. And of course, when I look up here, I see that it's not exactly 1.2, it's slightly off. So I can always shift that if I want to shift that. The next thing it asks me to do is focus on the height. The height should be 0.8 inches. So let me just see what my height is on this. And I can see here that it's 7.167. I'm just going to go ahead and make it 0.8. That's definitely an easier way to get the dimensions that I want. All right, so now I have the dimensions that I want. Okay, the next thing it wants me to do is hit Object, Transform, and then Reflect. Okay, so when I do that, I get this little menu, and I have an option between horizontal and vertical. We're going for horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to click horizontal, and then I'm going to click OK. And whoops. And the thing I did wrong is when I go to Object, Transform, and then Reflect, I'm not supposed to hit OK. I'm supposed to hit Copy. So again, that's where I made my mistake. So again, horizontal, but I'm copying it. I'm not changing it. If I click OK, I'm simply going to change it. If I click Copy, now I have made a second version of this. All right, so now we're going to slide this down so that we've got this diamond shape. Okay. And let's see, I do believe it wants us to change the color of our polygon. So it would like this part of our triangle to be a darker gray. So it says 30 black. So I'll put 30 black there. All right, so it's a little bit of a darker gray. All right, let's see. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag the new top triangle from the center widget, which is right here. And so it snaps to the bottom edge of the original. Okay, so whoops. So we've already done that. All right, select the selection tool in the tools panel, click the original top triangle. Okay, now what I need to do is find my eraser, and pressing the Shift key with my mouse, pressing the Shift key is going to allow you to erase in a perfect line. Okay, so that makes a perfect line right there. If I didn't hold the Shift key, that eraser would be just all wobbly and would not be what I want. I can now get rid of this top portion so that now it looks like I have some kind of a diamond. All right, so that's what we do to create a diamond. All right, I'm going to kind of skip through some things here. I feel like the book really drags on some of these items. Next, you'll make a copy of the original triangle and make a mountain shape with a rounded top corner. Okay, so I'll click on this. I'll go to Object. I'll go to Edit. I'll go to Copy. I'll go to Edit. I'll go to Paste. Okay, so now I've got this triangle, which is now going to become a mountain. Let's see. All right, to click more options in the selection, we're going to go here, make sides equal. There we go. All right, so that made my sides equal, so now this is standing up again. The other thing that we want to do is we want to round the top so that it looks like a mountain. So if I want to zoom in here and get a close-up look of my widget, there's my widget right there. I can double click on it. I can make it 0.125. Let's see what it's asking us to make it in the book. In the book, it's not making it quite that much. It's making it a little bit, it's almost hard to see. I'm gonna make it 0.05, see what we get. Do I like that? If I don't, I just go to my more advanced section here, and maybe we'll make it 0.07. There we go. Okay, that'll be my mountain. All right, so for whatever reason, the book does not want to tell us what kind of an angle it wants for that mountain, but that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with 0.7. All right, now we're going to make some stars. All right, we've made stars before. We're going to make some stars again. These are going to be 6-pointed stars. I'm going to try to make this a little bit quicker than it's giving us in the book. It really is taking us on a long journey for the book. So I'm going to start with my star here. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to change it to 6 points. I have the option to deal with the radius of both the inside and the outside of this. So let's see what we want to do. I'm going to change this to 0.7. Let's just see what this looks like. There we go. So all I did was changed the radius to 0.7, and it made it just a little pointier, which is kind of the way I want my stars to look. Okay, right now the stars are a little bit large, so we'll make them so that they're 1.5 inches. That's what they're calling for in the book. So that seems a little big to me. Again, I'm trying to kind of get us through this a little quicker. Okay, 0.4 inches is what we're going for. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to try to go for a 0.4 inch star here. And if I go to my pieces over here, I'm going to have a much easier time of it. I'm just going to go here, go here. That gives me a perfect 0.4 by 0.4 inch star. These stars are going to be white, so I'll click on the star, making sure, of course, that you have your selection tool picked. I will select white. I will make some copies of this. I believe we want 2 stars. So I'm going to, go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. So I have a star here and I have a star here. I'm going to hold my Shift key and my mouse and I'm going to make one of these stars a little smaller. This one is now 2.385 and this one is 4. I'll move this one right here. If I want to rotate it a little bit, I can rotate it so it's not quite so perfect. And where's my other star? If you can't find it because it's white, just draw boxes. If you draw boxes, it'll show up inside. So anytime you have something white on white and you can't see it, just keep doing this because eventually everything will be outlined. So it's right here. I'm going to drag it so that it's here. I'm going to just rotate it slightly like this. And so that should do it. Okay. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to group these. I'm going to hit group. Everything right now is grouped. This is grouped. I can move it around. This is grouped. I can move it around. This doesn't need to be grouped. This is grouped. And I've got this circle that for now we're not really sure what we need it for, but we have that circle ready for when we need it. So we're going to stop at this point because I think this is a this can be a trying assignment. I think it's very meticulous. It's one thing if you're designing something and you're creating something, but when you're repeating somebody else's work, it's not always as exciting. So let's stop here and we'll pick up with a second video. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. See you soon.